Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. A correction from the episode Friday. Elon likely misspoke when he said Tesla would rely on TSMC in Texas because there is no TSMC fab in Texas. So he probably meant to say Samsung instead of TSMC, since that's where Samsung's Taylor fab is, the one with which Tesla signed that $16.5 billion deal. So I said it was news that Tesla was not going to have AI5 made by Samsung in Texas, but that's likely not true, and Elon just flubbed his words. So thanks for pointing that out, and my apologies for not catching that. And another point one of you made, I think it's great to clarify, these 2 and 4 nanometer naming conventions no longer actually directly correspond to physical measurements like gate length for semiconductors. In older process nodes, the names would roughly correspond to the gate length of a transistor, but once we got under 20 nanometers, it stopped scaling down proportionally due to physical limitations and manufacturing challenges. For example, TSMC's 5 nanometer node has a gate length of between 15 and 20 nanometers. So due to this fact, some are now focusing on transistor density, which is measured as transistors per square millimeter, because it directly reflects how many transistors can be packed into a given area, which correlates with chip performance. And these density improvements come from shrinking multiple features, not just the gate length. So just keep that in mind as we go forward when thinking about the differences between the 2 and 4 nanometer process. It's not telling us the difference in any physical aspect of the chip anymore necessarily, it's just indicating some technical progress has been made, and we would have to dig deeper to learn what exactly is changing. So just know nowadays they're more like marketing terms signifying a next-gen chip design or a technical advancement compared to previous nodes. Tesla's 8K came out a bit late on Friday, so I figured we would quickly cover the results from the voting today, but I'm only going to focus on 4 proposals. The first was number 6, a proposal from management to eliminate the supermajority voting requirements. This requirement, where 2/3 of the outstanding shares would have to vote for a proposal, of course raises the bar and makes it more difficult for the board to actually have certain proposals passed. And if you look at the votes, you will see 1.3 billion shares voted for, and only 955 million were against. But remember, the way this works, for supermajority, Tesla needs 2/3 of the outstanding shares. So given the number of shares Tesla has outstanding right now, they would need about 2.2 billion shares voting for, and of course they fell well short of that mark. So for now, where applicable, the supermajority voting requirements are staying in place. And for the proposal for Tesla to invest in xAI, in this case, there were about 142 million shares more voting for than against, but the problem is we had over 470 million shares either abstaining or they were broker non-votes. And just so you know, those broker non-votes are when a broker like Fidelity or Schwab can't actually vote on certain proposals because they don't have the authority from the actual shareholder. And those non-votes are classified differently than a shareholder just abstaining. And the latter is when a shareholder would skip voting on certain proposals. For example, if I were to vote on 13 out of the 14, I would be abstaining from one. For now, unfortunately, it's not clear how Tesla plans to move forward with possibly investing in xAI. Adam Jonas did come out and say Tesla's going to have to revisit this. We don't think investors understand how important xAI is to Tesla and the broader Muskonomy. But I think most of us here understand the synergies between these companies. The problem now, as I've said, is the valuation. If xAI is already valued around $200 billion as of the last funding round, I think it's fair to ask the question how much upside xAI has from here. I mean, right now for 2025, estimates are xAI will only do a few $billion in revenue. And just so you know, those estimates are actually combining revenue from xAI and X post-merger. For now, I would still like to see a $5 billion investment into xAI from Tesla Tesla, but at this point, anything more than that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, especially if Tesla's going to follow through with a terafab. But even if this investment never happens, these two companies will undoubtedly work closely together, and both are going to benefit greatly from the synergies, investment or not. And responding to that comment from Jonas, Elon said, "My companies are, surprisingly in some ways, trending towards convergence." And I think many of us would say it's not surprising, and that's why there was so much pushback when Elon started xAI outside of Tesla. Elon gave his reasons, and you can like them or not, but there's no way around the fact Tesla and xAI are going to be tightly integrated for Optimus with Grok, and with the world models that xAI is building alongside Tesla. And then for Proposal 12, it was the first time the shareholders voted against the board recommendation. The recommendation was no, but this vote actually passed. Proposal 12 was to elect each director annually, meaning that instead of how it's been operating, directors serving these multi-year terms, they would instead face election every year. And since this one was approved, going forward, Tesla will be moving to an annual election process for the board of directors, which means theoretically now the entire board could be replaced in 1 year. And the way I see it, this means Elon's fears about potentially being ousted from a hostile takeover are even more valid now. Honestly, I don't love this because Tesla is clearly a company with a long-term focus. Tesla is the antithesis to short-term pandering and making decisions for short-term profits. And the way Tesla's board was set up was to help support this long-term vision. But now there's less security for the board year to year, and now every year there's a chance that the board can be shaken up prematurely, in my opinion. And the last one I wanted to touch on was shareholder proposal 14. Now, this one was not approved, however, it was very close. In short, this proposal was requesting that Tesla has to get shareholder approval before adopting any amendments to the bylaws, specifically under part of the Texas Business Organizations Code. So basically, if this one were to be approved, it would have meant Tesla's board could not unilaterally amend the bylaws without getting shareholder consent first. And usually, as it is now, these shareholder proposals are only subject to a simple majority. So all this to say, given how close this vote was, I would not be surprised to see it again next year. And of course, Elon's new performance award did pass with flying colors. And perhaps the best part was watching the internet lose its mind when the news broke and being reminded how few people understand anything that goes on at Tesla. There were a lot of people shouting about what Elon should do with his $1 trillion as if he was just handed a stack of cash. Sometimes even with AI, the level of discourse is still embarrassingly low. Robin Denholm put out a new letter to Tesla shareholders basically thanking everyone for their support over the years and recently with that voting. And she said, "We're on the cusp of what could be the largest value creation event in Tesla's history and quite possibly in the history of humanity. The feedback we receive directly from you, the owners of Tesla, informs our strategy and strengthens us. As we execute, we will keep listening and are committed to exploring opportunities to further empower shareholder voices. Thank you for believing in Tesla. Thank you for standing with us. We look forward to years of bold leadership and pioneering innovation fueled by our commitment to creating a better future for all." I've been doing some stress testing of 14.1.4 in parking lots, and we all know how this can be during the holidays. I do love this time of year, but I hate how it's pitch black by around 5 p.m. and it's nearly impossible to be in the sun for a few months, which means it's even more important for me to maintain a balanced diet, and part of how I do that is with AG1 and their next-gen formula, the easiest way I've found to cover all of my nutritional bases. It's my multivitamin, pre- and probiotic, superfood, and antioxidant go-to in one simple scoop. So for immune support, sustained energy, and gut health, I would challenge anyone to find anything as well-rounded and well-sourced endorsed as AG1, the sponsor of this video. I'm also in the midst of the busiest season of my life, and it can be quite challenging to consistently eat well. And so when I do get off track, at least I have some peace of mind. I'm getting a nutritional baseline of 75 plus ingredients and 5 probiotic strains in every serving. I always thought the original flavor was good on its own, but my go-to is now the berry flavor. It straight up tastes like Kool-Aid and there's nothing artificial in it. And of course, the all-important vitamin D3K2, especially during these dark winter months. AG1 now comes in original, citrus, berry, and tropical flavors, and right now you can head to drinkag1.com/electrified or scan the QR code to claim your free welcome kit. You'll now get a bottle of vitamin D3K2, a shaker bottle, and a sample pack of all 3 new AG1 flavors so you can determine your favorite. Cheers. Tasha Keeney put out a quick note after the shareholder meeting. I just wanted to highlight at the end, she said Tesla estimates its technology has prevented 35,000 deaths so far. A strong message to regulators holding off the approval of FSD. So anytime you see FUD online about FSD endangering lives, just remember this stat. Joe Tetmeyer broke some big news about Giga Texas. A brand new standalone factory is now starting construction.
And this clearing of this location, which did show up into those maps for the ecological paradise. Now, of course, this is north of where that's going to be. So the question has been, what exactly is this area being cleared for? And the answer that I will reveal now is that this is the work that is already underway to support the new factory and production line for the 10 million Optimus robot production rate per year here at Giga Texas. So both the ecological paradise and the factory projects are going to be happening at the same time. This map here with the moving arrow showed you where all of the main sites that we are familiar with the end-of-line facility, the highway, the Giga Texas factory itself, the multi-level parking garage, this east support area, which is now where the new factory is going to be built, up to the north where Cortex 2 is under construction and the die shop and battery cathode plant, and of course all the way back over to where that ecological paradise will be located. This series of recent drone shots gives you a pretty good idea of where exactly this is located next to the Colorado River. I've highlighted these areas where you can see the ecological park development location and that new factory location on that east support area. This is kind of from the southeast looking north where this development is happening, especially where River Road's being extended. And also this gives you a great view back to the main factory and where downtown Austin is, so you have a good perspective of where this location is. There's also been some construction underway already to support this new area. This is the caisson and the trenching on the south side of River Road. You can see the trench boxes and much of that plumbing and the green pipeline that's been extended through here. We've also seen where they've widened the berm and added in electrical conduit to this point. And this is a better shot of that showing you where it is and how it reaches over to the new clearing location. We've also seen a lot of the new stormwater pipes being aligned through here. This is going to support that underground drainage system that will be needed for that new construction site. Now, this new factory for the 10 million robots is scheduled to go into production in 2027. It's going to take the better part of 2026 to complete the construction, and that is why the earthwork and all of the supporting utilities are being installed right now in this location.
So shout out to Joe for the great coverage, but I'm here to say I think the timelines will be later than expected. I think the 1 million unit line in Fremont will start production late next year and scale slowly throughout 2027. And I think Tesla will want to maximize the learnings from that line before starting production at this new site in Texas. So I would not expect Optimus to roll off the line in Texas until 2028 at the earliest. But the ground is officially broken on the factory that will enable Optimus to hit massive scale. We have Clifford sharing a video clip from his Cybertruck on FSD avoiding a head-on collision. He said just a broken mirror, a busted window, and a bit of a shaken mind, but FSD saves lives. I really want to avoid being an armchair quarterback here because it's very hard to say how I would react in this actual situation, but I have to say I would have liked to see FSD react much sooner than it actually did. As you'll see, FSD didn't swerve until right here. This was basically the first frame where you see the Cybertruck moving off to the right to get out of the way, which is the 12-second mark in the video. But if you go back to the 7-second mark, you can now see two pairs of headlights, one in your lane coming at you. But right here at the 10-second mark, you can definitely see it clearly. And remember, you're going 70 plus, they're going 70 plus. So I think ideally at this point, it already would have been off to the right. But complicating the situation, Clifford did say there were vehicles right behind him as well, so slamming on the brakes was probably not a great move either. And I think Clifford is a part of the Electrified community, so if you see this, very happy to hear that you're okay. Appreciate you sharing this. And I think it's fair to say if a human driver was not paying attention for this 5-second stretch, well then FSD did actually save a life. I'm sure you guys have picked up on it over the past few weeks, but we very rarely talk about the legacy auto industry and their moves with EVs because unfortunately most of it is going the wrong direction. I'm sure many of you have heard Ford is considering whether or not to cancel the F-150 Lightning altogether. Some Ford executives are questioning whether the Lightning's business case remains viable. But for now, no official decision has been made. GM has made a series of job cuts in the United States that will result in the loss of nearly 2,000 full-time jobs. That decision in response to slower near-term EV adoption. Stellantis also recently scrapped plans to launch a fully electric Ram 1500. And I could go on, but I'm sharing this because part of what's behind this move was actually a recent court decision. The 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals struck down a Department of Energy rule that critics were saying wildly inflated the fuel economy ratings of EVs, giving them an unfair regulatory advantage over gas and hybrids. The people who brought the case were arguing that the DOE's formula for calculating EV efficiency was misleading and legally indefensible. The DOE's petroleum equivalency factor, what many of us have seen as the miles per gallon equivalent. They argued this system meant EVs would end up above 100 mpge regardless of actual energy costs or grid efficiency. And rather than immediately fixing the issue, the Biden administration's DOE planned a slow phase out between 2027 and 2030. And that delay was supposed to allow automakers to keep claiming those higher efficiency numbers for EVs to help them comply with the CAFE standards, which saved automakers millions of dollars in potential penalties. So what's happening here is gasoline vehicles will continue to be evaluated on their efficiency primarily on direct consumption, how far the vehicles can travel while using 1 gallon of gas. But now what this ruling means is that EVs are going to increasingly have to reflect broader energy losses, meaning they're going upstream to consider things like charging inefficiencies, grid transmission losses, or even upstream emissions from electricity generation and battery production. So on its face, the aim seems noble. They're saying they want EVs to reflect real-world efficiencies more accurately. But as it stands now, unless I'm missing something, gasoline vehicles don't really face the same equivalent requirement going upstream for production losses or real-world conditions because remember, cold weather also affects gas vehicles. Not as much as EVs, but it's not zero either. And since this efficiency standard is likely going to be overhauled now, it's going to force legacy automakers most likely to move further away from EV production. And you guessed it, it will likely lead to more hybrids and higher efficiency gasoline models. So in short, the court ruled that the DOE was required by statute to eliminate the flawed formula entirely rather than stretching it over several more years of inflated numbers. So it's going to take some time to develop these new equivalent efficiency standards, and we'll cover it when they get there. On the Tesla website, you'll now see the option to rent a Tesla from select Tesla locations. So far, this is only available at a handful of locations, and I believe all of them are out west. But you can now rent a Tesla for up to a week, and you can use FSD, and you can supercharge during your rental for free. And the cost to do this will start at $60 per day. Then if you order a Tesla within 7 days of your rental, you can get a $250 credit toward your purchase. Mileage is unlimited, but the vehicle is prohibited from being taken out of state. And quite importantly, FSD will be active on these rentals. Now, given how limited this program is right now, it's not going to move the needle, but if Tesla can quickly scale this across the country and get the word out there, this would be an awesome way for people to experience life with an EV. And sure, they likely wouldn't have the benefit of charging at home, but to learn how easy supercharging is and to try FSD for a reasonable daily rate is a great option. And for now, the program is available for the full Sexy lineup and the Cybertruck, and it says your rental can be for 3 to 7 days. Now, here's the real question. Is this going to be a short-term thing for Q4 to try to boost demand and adoption, or is this part of a new program where Tesla is thinking long-term about maybe replacing companies like Hertz? I mean, if Tesla's going to increase production and have extra inventory, then why not cut out the middleman and just rent cars directly to customers? Now, we know the rental business brings plenty of headaches, but the difference for Tesla would be this program could serve as a lead generator and a test period for customers to experience a Tesla and FSD. And in a new city where people are traveling, to rent a Tesla for their vacation to drive them around the city they've never been to would be a really cool experience for many people. And so this would not be about rental revenue for Tesla, but about brand exposure. So Tesla will likely test the demand for this program in a few select markets and then make decisions about scaling after that. And as Raj from Tesla said, trade-in estimates are now available directly on the Tesla configurator in a few states, including California, but this will cover all of the US and Canada this week. For loyalty customers, if their trade-in VIN is eligible for any loyalty credit, the same will be applied to the estimate. And he also said that you Canadians can expect the Model Y performance in Q1 2026. And on the configurator under the pricing, you will see this Get Trade-In Value button. And from there, you enter your VIN and it'll walk you through the process. So I think this is a great addition rather than making customers go a completely separate route for the trade-in. And if you've ever bought a Tesla before, you will know this is a really nice upgrade, because now the days of configuring your new Tesla and getting the final price will not be paired with wondering how much your current car is actually worth. Now it's all part of one seamless process. And now customers will instantly see any loyalty credits they'll earn with the purchase and trade-in as well. We got the breakdown for the domestic and export numbers for Giga Shanghai for October. 26,006 units sold domestically and 35,491 for exports. Again, totaling 61,497 for wholesale. Here's what this means. The export number this month was the highest reading in 2 years. But simultaneously, the domestic reading is the lowest number in 3 years. So going forward, we'll see if this month is an anomaly, but at least for now, Tesla is exporting materially more cars from Giga Shanghai. But you know, I don't like overreacting to any 1 month of data, so zooming out, looking at the year-to-date figures, the wholesale reading for this year is down 10.2%, the domestic number is down 8.4%, and the export number is down 14%. And I'm still waiting to get some official production numbers. When I do, I'll update the table. Tesla has some new lease incentives for the Model Y in the US. The lease rate is down to $479 a month, down from $529 before. And on the Model Y Premium, you get 1 free exterior or interior upgrade when you lease. And for select models, the financing rate is down to 1.99%. And similar incentives are available for the Model 3 as well. Tesla is now officially offering the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y in China, the longest range in the lineup. Now, this vehicle is going to have an extra 70 kilometers of range compared to the second highest trim, which is the Model YL. Now, yes, of course, this is the CLTC cycle, but just keeping that in mind, 70 kilometers is about 43.5 miles. So at least for the Chinese Chinese customers that go by this CLTC cycle, this is a big upgrade. And the price is just over $40,000. Emmanuel Lamachia, the Model Y program manager, is leaving Tesla after 8 years. He said leading the all-new Model Y launch was the highlight, converting all 4 factories across 3 continents in just 2 weeks, something that had never been done in the auto industry. Tesla taught me how to move fast without breaking things and how to scale from prototypes to millions of units. Excited for what's next, more to share soon. So Emmanuel will forever be etched in history as he played a big role in making the Model Y the best-selling car on Earth, a fully electric vehicle. And we also have Siddhant Awathsi, who was the lead of the Cybertruck program, also leaving Tesla. He said, "I recently made one of the hardest decisions of my life to leave Tesla after an incredible run. This also after 8 years at Tesla. This decision was not easy, especially with so much exciting growth on the horizon. Tesla vehicles are incredibly complex systems that often don't get the credit they deserve, but I've witnessed firsthand how they've changed lives for our customers, my friends, and my family, adding real value and, above all, improving safety. I'm confident Tesla will nail its next big mission, especially after last week, and I'm truly excited for the next chapter of my life." As we always say, 8 years at Tesla is like 16 plus years at most other companies, and you can speculate on what's going on all you want, but we've learned year after year the ball keeps rolling at Tesla no matter who leaves. Sawyer shared Model 3 standard deliveries have officially started in the US. Tesla's now hiring for a ride-share operator for Autopilot in San Francisco. This role will support Tesla's ADAS and supervised FSD in real-world ride-sharing scenarios. You'll act as the bridge between FSD, supervised, and passengers, ensuring seamless pickups, drop-offs, and route navigation in dynamic environments. And as we know, if Tesla's going to fulfill Elon's goal of 1,000 vehicles plus in the Bay Area by the end of the year, roles like this will be required to enable that scaling. Phil Beisel astutely shared the sentiment that we talked about after Elon's new pay package, providing important context for what $400 billion in EBITDA really means. He shared Saudi Aramco's $238 billion of EBITDA in 2022 as a record high for any company. Elon quote posted it saying, "It sure is a tall order. Anyone can buy Tesla stock right now and come along for the ride. There will inevitably be some bumps along the way, but with a truly immense amount of work, I think these goals can be accomplished." And we know Elon told everyone to apply the pressure to regulators, specifically in Europe and elsewhere where FSD is still not approved. Recently, we talked about that petition that thousands of Tesla owners have signed in Israel, pushing the regulators to approve FSD. And now this story is getting news coverage in Israel. It was a 5-minute segment talking about FSD, what it is, why it's important the regulators approve it, and what the petition was and how many people signed it, and so on. And what do you know? A new Form 4 was filed by Elon for over 423 million shares. Scrolling down, these shares of restricted stock were granted according to Elon's new performance award in 12 equal tranches and were issued following receipt of all necessary approvals. And as we know, the earning of each tranche is subject to satisfaction of certain conditions. If earned on or before September 3rd, 2030, the tranches of restricted stock will vest on March 3rd, 2033. And if earned between 2030 and 2035, the tranches of restricted stock will vest on September 3rd, 2035. In each case, subject to satisfaction of certain conditions. So basically, the shares have been granted, but now it's Elon's turn to earn them and effectively keep them. There's reporting out there that these 423 million plus new shares as part of the new 2025 incentive package is being held in Elon's revocable trust, but that's not the case. They just included this line to tell you how many shares Elon holds separately in his revocable trust. As you can see, for this transaction specifically, the acquisition was only direct to Elon. So this column is just telling you how many shares Elon owns directly, 519.7 million, and how many shares Elon owns in his trust, 413.3 million. But again, please keep in mind, a huge portion of the shares he directly owns are restricted shares, and as we've covered at length, he needs to earn all of those tranches to actually keep or earn those shares. For now, they are just granted. And the shares of restricted stock are subject to a voting agreement, and the reporting person, Elon, has given an irrevocable proxy to the company's secretary to vote the shares in accordance with the terms of the voting agreement. But all you need to know, for Elon, it is now officially go time. One of Sawyer's followers shared a video while using FSD, and it was quite impressive. So the car started to go around the construction work, realized the bus was coming, backed up, waited for the bus, and then went around safely. Very well done. And that was 14.1.4. Tesla stock closed the day at $445.23, up 3.66%, while the NDX was up 2.2%. The volume was 14% below the average. Don't forget to check out AG1 Next Gen and AGZ and all of the new flavors with my link below to grab your freebies. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.